Evening, everybody, or good afternoon, wherever you're joining us from. I am Reva Judas, the founder and director of Nechama Comfort. Nechama Comfort is a global organization helping the entire Jewish community who experience early miscarriage, pregnancy loss, infant loss, stillbirth through the age of 1. We offer individual counseling with our wonderful trained case managers. As I said before, we're global. We have a big presence in Israel. We also run weekly support groups for couples, as well as twice a month pregnancy after loss groups and a monthly men's support group run by one of our trauma specialists, Sam Miller, who unfortunately will not be able to join us tonight. He is in Toronto. But for more information, how to reach out to us, please find us on our website at nechamacomfort.org. And I am so excited tonight to welcome our guest. I'm excited for so many reasons. First of all, when we first met a few weeks ago, I didn't realize that Chari Pere lives in Teaneck. She's my neighbor. So I know this is only the first of many, many, many conversations. And Chari, as she's going to tell you herself, has created the most unbelievable cartoonmentaries, and everybody tried to say that 2 times fast. It's not so easy, but it is what a wonderful creation to help people, to help families through this medium. I know I grew up in the Stone Age reading comics in the newspaper. And that was always exciting. We were always excited to find the comics. And they weren't so serious. I didn't think they were. But as I grew up, I realized comics that we grew up at, Dagwood and Bumstead, and there was Beetle Bailey about the army, and even Peanuts had all messages. So thank you so much for doing this. We wanted to do this. We got it in before June is over. Nechama Comfort has dedicated this month as special programming for our dads. There's often a question from parents, from fathers especially, when they experience a loss. Am I a parent? Am I a father? And we share with them that as soon as you find out that you're expecting your child, they are the children that live in your hopes and dreams. And you are a parent, you are a dad. And we recognize this month as being Men's Mental Health Awareness Month, as well as Father's Day. So we've had programming. You could go on our YouTube station or our website and see all the programming that have been dedicated to the dads, to the men. And at Nechama Comfort, we always knew. I knew personally when our firstborn son passed away 37 years ago. My husband, my father, my father-in-law, the grief that they were going through, but the silence that they had to go through it in for many, many years. So tonight is something that can only have been dreamt about many years ago. And we're excited about tonight. We're gonna have a comfort conversation, as we call it. And again, if you have questions, please write them in the chat. And please, and we'll have time for questions at the end. So without further ado, I would like to introduce Chari Pere, who's become a good friend of mine in a very short time. Chari has worked as a creative director and illustrator, storyboard artist on projects for Red Bull, Disney, Jockey, Comedy Central, and Bud Light. She has created content for the Washington Post, the Lily and Mad magazine, and has collaborated with NYT bestselling author Gretchen Rubin and actress Mayim Bialik. Chari launched the Unspoken cartoon series as part of the 2024 Jewish Writers Initiative Digital Storytellers Lab Fellowship. Welcome to tonight's Comfort Conversation.
Thank you so much. I'm really, really thankful to be here with all of you. Thank you all for taking your time out to come here and watch the premiere of my video and to have a chat about really important topic.
So I think that would be great. Tonight, there's no red carpet, but you could all pretend it's a red carpet event. One day, hopefully, we'll be able to do that in person. Tonight, fasten your seatbelts and join us at this moment for the world premiere of, Chari, you could introduce it?
Sure, it's Michael's miscarriage. So just a little bit of information. 7 years ago, I released a comic called Miscarried, which was my own personal experience with suffering a miscarriage. And the actress Maya Bialik shared it for me, and it went viral. And I started getting emails from people all over the world, which led to the creation of the second comic, Michael's Miscarriage. And I was telling you about it before, Reba, but I'll share here. Um, a few days after Mayim shared my comic, I was talking to my husband who edits and edits and helps me with my comic series. As he's a great, excellent writer as well, and he's also he's the casting director and voiceover actor for my animated shorts as well as co-producer. So I was talking to him and I was telling him, as little as women talk about miscarriages, I should really consider doing a comic from a husband's perspective because men don't really have any platform to speak about their emotions. It's certainly 7 years ago when I wrote my comic. And an hour later, I got an email from a fan saying, you should really consider doing a comic from a husband's perspective because my husband really struggled during our miscarriage. And that's how Michael's Miscarriage came about, from the email of a fan to a comic that is the second in the series. And I have 3 comics produced so far, and I have a fellowship for the Jewish Writers Initiative Digital Storytellers Lab that is enabling me to turn the existing comics as well as new ones into animated shorts. So this is video number 2, and what I hope will be many, many more.
Okay. I always wanted to say this, roll them.
All right. Well, I have not actually released the video live, so I'm about to set it public.
Okay. We are here first to see it. I'll tell you the truth. I already saw it last night and it's amazing. And I think so many men that we work with personally, professionally, can relate to this.
Okay, one second. I am just publishing it now. It is public, and I am getting the video ready.
And we will share the link right afterwards. We'll share the link so we will be able to share it because I know after you watch it, the fathers, the grandfathers, the women, the partners, the spouses.
Okay, one second. The premiere. Oh, so the premiere mode has a 2-minute countdown. So
Okay.
I set it as an instant premiere, which apparently is not so instant. So, but I do want to add that I released my first comic in time for Mother's Day, my first animated short, and it's been great. I mean, I had it featured in CNN, Newsweek, nationally syndicated talk shows, Feller. So I'm really excited about how it's helped people, and it's weird to say excited about such a trying topic, Can you guys see this okay, by the way?
Yes. Right. Can anybody not see it? Put it in the chat.
I just want to make sure. Yeah, it's good that they have this to make sure that all the technical, everything is working properly.
Yes.
I also want to make sure that I'm sharing the computer sound.
And if you have any thoughts, not just questions, we really want to hear from everybody. Anything that you want to share with us about the video, about your feelings, about your thoughts. We were talking how and I will continue the discussion. Think about anybody in your life, even if it's not yourself, who have
Yeah.
gone through this type of trauma.
All right, I'm gonna mute this and we'll ready to go.
Man, it feels nice to be on break.
Only 3 more years until you're a clinical psychologist.
Plus internship and postdoc. It feels more like 33 years.
But, honey, we can't keep waiting for you to finish to get our family started.
Yeah, maybe it's time. We had a few fun and productive months.
We're pregnant.
That's great. Is this really happening? How am I going to write a dissertation while knee-deep in baby poop? Beth's hormone levels had been a little low. We were nervous, but hopeful.
Okay, let's listen for that heartbeat.
I'm so excited.
But it was nowhere to be found.
Roughly 25% of pregnancies result in miscarriage. It's nothing to be ashamed of. We can remove the fetus surgically by DNC or let it pass naturally.
Beth went with the natural route. Are you sure you don't want a DNC to get it over with?
I'm sure.
I kept wanting to tell her how I really felt, but I didn't. It was her body, her decision. I started to retreat into my head. Is she punishing herself for losing the baby? I hope she knows it's not her fault. I began analyzing everything, even myself. Losing the fetus, I feel both disappointment and relief. Why relief? I was excited, but terrified about becoming a father, and relieved that this was my way out. And how does that make you feel? Guilty. Really guilty. Like maybe subconsciously, somehow, that thought caused the miscarriage. Well, I think the answer is clear. You should be talking to someone other than yourself. So I reached out to a buddy whose wife had also miscarried. Man, I just don't know what to do or how to feel.
There's not much you can do. You have to suck it up and move on.
So I tried to be strong for Beth and pretend that everything was okay. Almost 2 weeks later, we were at a family gathering when...
Ow!
Beth, you're looking gray. We're going to the hospital right now.
I just need the bathroom. I'll be okay. I just need to do this on my own.
I was terrified. Please, God, watch over my wife. Are you okay?
Something came out, but I flushed the toilet. I didn't want to see it.
The doctor confirmed what we suspected.
I'm so sorry. The fetus is gone.
It's been a week and we haven't talked about the miscarriage. I wonder how she's doing.
You know, for a psychologist, you've been surprisingly quiet about this whole thing.
Well, I figured it would be hard enough for you without my emotional baggage.
Really? I wish we talked about it more. I wouldn't have felt so alone.
Oh, I'm sorry. I wish I had talked more. Not just to Beth, but to my guy friends as well. I would have asked them, what had they felt? How did they cope? What advice could they have offered? Even going back as far as our Jewish patriarchs in the Torah, men haven't had many examples of how to cope with the complications of pregnancy. Although all their wives had fertility issues, only Isaac set aside time to pray with his wife, Rebecca. Staying united helped them work through their issues together. After my talk with Beth, I started to open up more. The more I did, the more I found others who opened back up to me.
We lost 2.
Really?
Yeah, me too.
I hope that one day we can all speak freely about our experiences and support each other. Maybe then, at the rough times, we wouldn't feel so alone.
That's it.
Wow, bravo. I see some hands. Whoever could, amazing. You know, it was I think the third time I watched it. And it is, uh, what
Playing the
happened?
next video. 1 second.
That you or somebody? Okay.
It's playing the next video.
Oh, okay. That's good.
It's done now.
I'm up in my attic. I heard my husband reacting downstairs. It's good. It's good. Um, I feel like anybody seeing it, and this is being recorded, so we're going to be sending it out to so many of you. I feel like people's heads are shaking. Yes. I feel that it relates to so many of our stories. I love your shirt. I can only see the hearts, but I saw it before. You are not alone. And that's a theme of Nechama Comfort. That's the first thing we tell our clients when they come to us, that you're not alone. And I think that it's important for, I want to pick up on so many points. First of all, it's important to show this and to share this with so many people. And what I've been saying a lot of since October 7th, people have been coming over. We've been trying to figure out, how do you balance a personal trauma with a national tragedy, an international trauma? But it's important to understand that both can coexist. And even the things that we're learning from your cartoon, is that you need a support system. No matter what, you need your support system. And that it's important to develop that support system beforehand. To know that our friendships, that our family, who we connect with, is not just for the good times. And to really develop that. And I think that was I think that was what sort of the last statement, that you could sort of have this beforehand. It was just amazing. And I wanted to turn it over to you. When you watch it, when you were making it, what are the first thoughts that come to your mind?
I mean, every time I make a new video like this, I try to do everything in a way that makes the topic digestible, because it's a very difficult topic. And you mentioned the type of cartoons before, in the comics and the papers that are funny, but it's really more in the vein of Mouse, which is considered the father of graphic novels, Art Spiegelman. It's more, and it was, the style was directly inspired by Mouse and Persepolis, and the real graphic novels. I try to take the stories. The process is basically, whether it's my story or someone else's, I have everybody write down whatever thoughts are in their head, and I try to take the story down to the essence, and I try to flip it in a way that's an easier way to digest the information. Going to the School of Visual Arts and majoring in cartooning, they teach you that you try to make your cartoons as iconic as possible. The difference between something like telling a story like this in comics and in movies is that in movies you see actors. These are people. It's their stories. But with cartoons, they're so caricaturish enough and so basic that the intent is really to put yourself in that position. You are seeing the experiences through Michael's eyes. You are seeing the experience through the other character's eyes. So when I create my stories, I really try to think, what is the most engaging way to tell, and what are ways to tell a story that are not traditional to get the message across. Here I have Michael interviewing himself, which is, you can't do that in real life, but it gets the message across of how he can have an inner dialogue in a way that is also an outer dialogue for us to understand what's going on.
What I liked, what I picked up on too, I guess because I'm in the field, was how Michael is I don't know if that's true or not, that he's a professional therapist.
It's true. This is a true.
But we feel that way in so many things, that professionals, everybody needs to have that support system. And I think that was a good point to bring across too.
Yeah, it's I learned in my comic as well, in my first story, the whole messaging is that I kept it a secret when I should have just, it was important to find the right people that God forbid something happened in a future pregnancy. It was very difficult to say, hey, I'm pregnant, but JK, I'm not because the baby is miscarrying. So it was a lot easier for me, there was an issue, I'm pregnant and I need help in whatever way. So it was really important on all future pregnancies after my miscarriage to have a network established.
And I think it also, Michael's miscarriage does not just speak to men. I think definitely I want everybody to go and watch Unspoken, the first video, after we showed this one. But I think with the messages were there too. First of all, just a couple of things that there's so many choices. Choice is a big word that I use in the Chama Comfort. And that's sort of why we're here to help. Because the thing that you picked up was the doctor comes in, and this doctor was pretty okay. We have um, and but right away said, okay, do you want to do the procedure? Do you want to do it naturally? Couples don't know. And if the husbands real don't understand, nobody's understanding. Both partners do not understand what that means.
Yeah.
That's another topic you could pick up on, speaking to the medical profession, how do we explain that? But no choice is wrong because it's their choice. And I think the communication is so important between partners. That is, I spoke a couple nights ago. One of my friend's daughter got married, and I spoke at their celebration, their Sheva Bracha after the wedding. And one of the messages I had, I said the first thing is communication. Even though you may be on your own, I think that's what needs to be developed before any relationship. And also, these are things that, as families, we should be talking to our children about it. We should be talking to, at a certain age, we go into high schools and we talk about what could happen, because the statistic, as you said, is 25%. 1 in 4 pregnancies that do miscarriage, 1 in 8 couples, and I think now it's 1 in 6 couples experience a fertility journey. So I think the discussion really needs to be made within the family. And I know from my family, we talked about the loss of our son and my miscarriages. And it didn't make them afraid to have children and to go on. And I think that, starting with your immediate family to make sure your kids feel that support, and to remember we can't fix it. So I think also that men should know, and women, we can't fix this, but to be there for each other is so important.
Yeah, I always say that my comics are meant to help on some emotional level. I mean, they can't change the course of reality or the health of the physical elements, but the thoughts of I'm a failure, what did I do wrong? How calm is it? That those kind of emotions, if I didn't have to experience that, if I didn't realize how common it was when I went through mine, that was a whole level of stress that could have been removed. But, I chose to keep the pregnancy a secret in the beginning because that's what we're supposed to do, or at least that's how it's presented. And it made it worse. And I was looking for, and with my story, for those who haven't seen it, my husband was out of town when I got my bad diagnosis that I was going to miscarry for the entire time. He was on a plane chaperoning 15 boys on a school trip. He had to be on the whole time. And he had his own story where he was going through this emotional mess. He wasn't nearby, and he had to just fake everything, that everything's okay, because who's he gonna talk to on a trip across the country? And so it's been very, I had to spend a lot of time researching online for my own resources for help to help me get through the situation on my own. And I didn't find anything back then when I had mine 10 years ago. And so I said, I'm a cartoonist. I do social action comics. I should just write the resource I wish I had. And so I did. And it's been, the whole adaptation into this new format is to reach a whole new audience of people who digest their entertainment or education in different ways. Everybody is so different. So some people like to read, some people like to watch, and it's important to just reach out to everybody in whatever way works for them. And that's the whole purpose of this project.
I definitely have seen, I mean, we weren't on social media 10 years ago, so I guess that's why you didn't find us. But that's another point. It's never too late. If people watching this know of a friend or a family member that has gone through pregnancy, infant loss, or any type of trauma, it's never too late to express how you feel in simple words. I'm sorry. And that's, important to know. And it's also never too late to ask for help. It could be years ago. When I do presentations, I have women and men that come over to me and they'll tell me 50 years ago, I remember my parents lost a baby. And it was the first time they've ever talked about it, or that they'd gone through a pregnancy and infant loss.
I did not know my mom had a miscarriage or suspected until I mentioned that I had one. She's like, "Oh, I think I had one too." So I apparently my grandmother also, great grandmother also had a miscarriage. There's a bunch that family. I didn't know about it until after I spoke up. So there's a lot of unknown stories out there that are unspoken, pun intended.
Talk about long time ago. I love how you put in the reference to our forefathers in the Bible, because when we're talking, when I was a preschool teacher for many years, so we'll get questions, when should we talk about it to our children, when should we? And I always say, they learn their Torah, they learn the Parsha stories, the portion of the week, right away. So we know that we learn, Sarah had a baby, Abraham was 90 years old, and they know he was an old man. So they don't understand necessarily the concept, but we talk about that Isaac prayed and Rebecca prayed, and we get that. But it's so true, because we're not taught how to deal with the grief. We aren't. And I think that it is part of our lives. And it doesn't mean that they weren't going through the grief, and it doesn't mean that they didn't know the help. They just didn't have room, I'd say, to write it in the Torah. So we have to, that's where we come in, to interpret what can be done and the choices that you have. And there's been some progress. And just, we were talking before how Mark Zuckerberg, the founder of Facebook, I still call it Facebook, came out, what we say, 2015. I'll never forget. It was on a Friday. My husband was downstairs, quick, come up, come watch the news. And my phone was exploding. And he had come out with a statement, and they were broadcasting it. A man with more friends than anybody, his wife had experienced 3 miscarriages, and he felt alone. And in 2015, of course, I wanted to reach out to him, but he didn't take my calls. Friend me on Facebook, but I thought, wow, this is it, Mark Zuckerberg. But then, of course, nothing followed through. But then we would find, my son actually would, when he was in high school, he'd tell me in the morning, Mom, I just watched ESPN and this football player lost the baby. Can you call him? So it became a natural thing. John Legend came out a few years ago about his loss. So it's there. We've seen it, because we're virtual. All of our programming is virtual. So we see more men coming on. We have our men's support group, but we want it to be natural. We want people to feel comfortable that there's, as you said, there is nothing to be ashamed about, and that you don't need to help your wife. You don't need to be the one suffering because you feel like you have to be macho. When people ask me what makes a pregnancy infant loss different, there's so many similarities to other deaths, but it is a unique loss because it's happening to 2 people at the same time, the same exact loss of a child. And I think your your series, your video tonight, your cartoomentary really hits home and is just amazing and will help so many people.
Yeah, absolutely. And I appreciate there's a bunch of people in the comments saying nice things. Thank you to Art and Peggy and Julia and Steve. Thank you for sharing your thoughts and Bernie, I with my resource too, it's been interesting because the comics have been out there for quite some time. And so, everybody's going through their own experiences now and their own loss. And there's, every day someone else is dealing with their own. So sometimes it'll be years later, but I have friends who said, I remember that you did this comic and it really helped me in the time that I needed it. And so the comics are done for, hopefully one will never need it. It's for the people who've been through it and also the people who will be going through it too, unfortunately.
And I think also so important how to help people. We always say how to help people. If you come on our website, we have the do's and don'ts. But I think anybody watching your video can see what not to say and what to say and how to be understanding. And
absolutely.
And to just show up. You always say you can't fix it, but just to show up.
Yeah, absolutely. And, it's just important to be open because when I went through my experience, I knew exactly 3 people who had told me that they had miscarriages. And those are the first 3 people I called. And some people brought over ice cream and some people just brought over words of comfort. Some people brought over meals. So it's important to speak up because it not only helps you, it helps, by turning my experience into comics, I really feel like I took away the physical pain that was inside of me, the physical emotional pain, I like to say, because it was living inside of me, and putting it out there and seeing how I turned something, difficult into something that's helpful really was a way to heal myself. So by speaking up, you not only help yourself, but you help others, whether or not you know it now, whether or not you know it, or whether or not it's now or later.
Thank you so much. I just wanted to, before we finish, we could talk all night. Is there anybody that wants to ask a question? I know we have great comments. I'm glad you're reading them. Anybody that has any questions or any things that they want to share, you could either turn on your camera if you choose, or write it in the chat, or you can text me privately, and we can look at it. I'm Nechama Comfort is honored to be able to host the world premiere of this cartoomentary. I would love, we're going to put up the information on our website, and we're going to share the link, how you can watch it. And also we'll share do you have the other link that they can watch the first one too?
Yeah, I can drop it into the chat for my original one.
Perfect.
Follow me on Instagram also at Chari Pere Art, but I'm Chari CHARI PERE art ART at Chari Pere Art. And in YouTube, feel free to subscribe to the videos there for the unspoken cartoons. And I'll have behind the scenes videos. I'm opening up a swag store with more merchandise to help support the project. I'm working on a Patreon store to Patreon set up so that people could help sponsor future videos. I appreciate everybody's support and kind words. I'm going to share right now the YouTube channel and then the original Miscarried as well. I can also drop in the link to today's video to pass that around. Can share all the things.
Terrific. And if you're new to Nechama Comfort, please follow us as well. Reach out. You could join our mailing list, our email list, because we send out our newsletters, and we were going to include. We waited to send it out till after tonight's event, so that we can share the information and the link as well. If you know of anybody that could use our help, again, we are global. We work with the entire Jewish community. We have interfaith couples. We really work everybody individually to help them on their grief journey, how to put their children into their lives and to move through it. And we run different comfort conversations. If you know of any community that you would like us to come to share on Zoom, we do presentations as well. We do trainings, how for you to best help your family and friends going through this loss. And Chari, I just want to thank you. This was really unbelievable. I thank you. I thank you for doing what you're doing. I wish you continued success. And I know I'm going to announce this tonight. We'll be working together much more to help this important community of families who are going through pregnancy and infant loss. So I'm going to put in any last words that you want to say.
No, thank you for everybody for showing up tonight. And Riva, it's been a pleasure. I look forward to all the things we can do together in the future. And, I'm so glad that we're all here so that nobody should be alone. We're all in this together. We all need to just support each other, especially in crazy times like today. There's so many individual struggles and personal struggles and global struggles. So at the very least, for the individual struggles, we can all band together to help each other. So I hope my unspoken cartoons continue to help going forward.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Everybody, you know how to reach us, and have a good evening.
Good night.